Hey folks, welcome back to Jerome Bee Farm and Homestead. I'm gonna shoot this video inside today. It's the last day of May. It's pretty hot outside and there's not much wind. So I'm letting the sun get over to the west, so when I go work on my hives, I'll have some shade from the trees that are behind them. And I'm gonna kind of show you around in here in my little area where I work on my hives and stuff and show you what I got going on here. And then I want to show you how I maintain my records. So I'll give you a quick little tour. So this is where I build my boxes, and I cut everything outside, then I bring it in here. So I've got all kinds of stuff in here. So there's a nuke feeder and some covers. I've made these. That's the pan that I mix sugar cakes on. Here's some sugar feeders, double screen board, and this is where I stack up my boxes. And I use this rival roaster oven here to melt my wax in. So I coated some frames the other day, so I don't use filtered wax for that. It's lightly filtered, but I just roll that on the frames with a roller. In fact, here it is right here. Use that to roll it on the frames. And little spots, if there's a little bit of comb on it, I'll just paint it on with this little brush. Let's see, I got a couple of nuke boxes left here I haven't used, and some covers, migratory covers for nukes. Let's see, down here I've got some, looks like 5 boxes of black plastic foundation right cell, wax coated. Got a bunch of nuke frames here. What else do we have? Oh, some plastic excluders. I use these, I'll cut them and put them over an entrance. I'll use these if I'm out of the metal ones, but right now I've got plenty of metal ones. So over here I got some miscellaneous stuff. There's a case of beetle blasters. Let's see, got some Pro Health here, a couple things of that. That's Bermuda seed. When my house is done, I'm going to spread that around. Got a scale here. Got my moth crystals. And I keep things in totes. So down there is honey extraction stuff. So once I clean it, I put it in a tote and seal it up. And my extractor is under this tarp. I get it cleaned up and I clean it with cool water, hose it down outside, and I'll let it sun dry, and then any water that's standing, I'll dry it with paper towel. And I'll bring it in here and I cover it up with this tarp. And we'll clean it out again before we use it. And down in here I got my wax making supplies. Got some molds. Got oils. That's almond oil. So we'll use these oils for making lip balm and things like that. Here's a bunch of oils for lip balm and different things. And if you're going to make candles in a mold, you need this mold release. Don't try it without that. I know. Coconut oil. And here's some of the different molds. Shea butter. And also down in there are lip balm containers, and also like a deodorant stick dispenser type things, and we use that for hand to spread stuff on your hands, and it's like just a giant lip balm thing, but you use it for your hands. So a lot of the coconut oil is in that. Okay, let's get to this video here. Okay, so we're switching to first person video here. I got this mounted on my hat, so hopefully it'll work out. And I'm going to get my little tripod, and I'm going to set it right here so I can be getting a close-up right of this book so you can see the writing, and hopefully that'll work out. So start out, I basically have me a 3-ring binder here, and it's got little pockets, and I keep sticky note stuff over here for stuff I'm going to like take with me in the field, and so I don't carry the book right down to the actual hive itself, but sometimes I do. I got a pocket here that I got it initially. I was going to keep all my receipts and stuff in here and keep track of all of that, but I didn't really keep up with that. So the important thing, I guess, for this video is, so I got a 3-ring binder, and I got this Avery index, so it's 1 through 31, and there's 31 tabs. So I try to keep 30 hives, so 1 through 31 works for me. If you got more hives than that, you're probably not taking detailed notes on every hive. You're probably more sideliner, professional beekeeper, and you're doing things in a lot larger scale. And you go through every hive systematically with a process, and you do it fast. So I'm not a sideliner, I am a hobbyist, so I like to keep good notes and know what each hive is doing the best I can, and have a plan when I go in each hive, not the same plan every time and it's just a process. So let's get in here and I'll show you what I got going on. Okay, first off, I want to give credit where credit is due. I watched a video that Michael Palmer put out, and he's a beekeeper. He's northeast, like Vermont, Maine. I don't know. Vermont seems to sound correct. Anyway, he uses this same sort of technique, and he writes his information on the tops of his hives. So I started off doing that, and that worked pretty good for me. But what the problems I had was, as the summer went on, the things I wrote early on started fading away. And a lot of people would say, well, use a pencil. And I really didn't want that on my lid, because after a while it would it'd only be full. So then I started, I put a strip of duct tape down my hive, and I'd write on it with a Sharpie, and I would use Michael Palmer's, my version of his shorthand. So I took what he did and kind of made my own little variation of it, which some of it is probably very similar or identical. But anyway, then I would peel the duct tape off at the end of the year. Well, the duct tape wound up coming apart, and it faded as well. So then I went to the book, and I've been using, this will be my 3rd year on this book, and I really like the way it's working out. It works pretty good. It doesn't work so well when you leave it in the rain, though. Done that a couple times. So let me show you my version of how I do shorthand. So these are some of the things that that I write in my notes. So I'll write these shorthand little mnemonics, and then I'll write a little note beside it, because a lot of times I may not know exactly what I meant I was doing. So let's start here at the top. So VQ, so that means I found a virgin queen. And the dots, that's something that I came up with. If there's dots, that means I put eyes on that queen. QRE, that means it's a queen right hive and I saw eggs. No dots means I did not find the queen. So this is queen right eggs larva. Queen right eggs larva brood. And brood in this system means it's capped. So it's eggs, uncapped, capped. So that kind of gives you a timeline on the 21-day life cycle development of a worker bee from egg to emerge. So for example, if you had queen right brood and no eggs or larvae, you would know how many days about it's been since a queen was laying an egg, and that might tell you something like, oh, she may be trimming down, getting ready to swarm, or something like that. So all these above here means if I saw a queen, there's no way to know how old she is. There's no color related to this. It's an unmarked queen. So if it's a marked queen, I'll put the color here, blue. And if I see her, I put a bar. So this means I found a blue queen. It was a queen right hive. There were eggs, larvae, and brood. Also in my notes, I'll write the date that I marked that queen. This year I write the date and I'll put 2020 blue, and I'll put a big square around it so it really stands out to me in the notes. Now these are some that kind of I ad-libbed on my own, but these are from Michael up here. I think he uses these same ones. I don't know that he does virgin queen, but I know he used queen right eggs, larvae, and I don't know if he had the brood or not, but he uses the queen right and eggs for sure. So I borrowed that from him. So credit where credit is due. You might want to go check out his video. Finish mine first though. These here, this means I added a frame in position 5, and the end means it's notched for an on-the-spot queen rearing method. And times 4 means I notched it 4 times. And usually when I do that, I will mark on that frame physically in the hive. I'll put an N on that frame, so when I open the lid, I'll see that N. And if I'm in 2020, I'll mark that in with a blue, so I'll know next year if I see a blue N, that was last year and I don't have to worry about it. SCC, supersedure cell, frame 4, uncapped, 75%. That means it's a 75% through its stage to be capped off. So that'll give you a timeline of about how long you've got until that's capped, and when that old queen may or may not disappear, or maybe you need to make her disappear. And SC is, without the third C, is swarm cell, frames 4, 5, and 6 capped. So if you see that, you better find your queen, or she's going to swarm, or she probably already did. This one is -1 frame of brood to number 7, which means I pulled a frame out of this hive that had brood on it to boost up number 7, or it may have been it may have had eggs too, and I may have notched it, right? So that would be over on number 7's notes as to what I did to it. So it's the from hive, I took one away, the to hive, where it went. So let's get in here. I've got some a couple of hives. I'll just run through them real quick and show you some examples of how I've used this. All right, I don't know how well this is going to work, but this is hive number 8. So when I start a page, I will put the newest page up front. So that's like a bottom line up front type reporting. So I'm a fan of that, obviously. So way back here, it starts in 2017. And you can see this was a Wildflower Meadows queen. The second year I moved her from number 16 to this number 8 as a split. So number 16 would make their own queen. So that California, I call this the California Dreamin' Hive because it was a Wildflower Meadows queen from California, and she had really good genetics. So I liked that queen. So I pulled I think 3 daughters from her genetics, and I wish I had more of those. So in 2018 I noted she's a 3rd year queen. Here's my notation, and I started out not so good using this, and I got a lot better as I went along. But you can see where I note the date. Heavy, good honey, March 28th, rotated the brood boxes. April 10th, the drone brood was removed, no swarm cells. I added the super. So I'm not going to read through every line. So usually what happens was once I harvest honey, I start doing as many inspections and my note taking would fall way off. So then we jump to 2019. So 2019, I spotted an unmarked queen. See my two little dots there? Queen-right egg larva brood. Appears to be the same California queen. I rotated it. It was medium strong. This is in March. New to mostly empty frames, and the bottom was full. And I made a note, super it. So that was the 17th, and on the 23rd, you can see that I supered it. 4/7, I said it was super strong. On the 14th, swarm cells top and bottom. The top were uncapped and the bottom was capped. So sorry I wasn't using my capped notations there. I just wrote it out. I couldn't find the queen, so I split it. I did a 50-50 split. I sent the top over to the number 6 vacant position, and I left the super that was on there with this original location there with the bottom box. So that was the 14th. On the 16th, I went back and checked my splits. I located the queen, and I moved her to a nuke number 18 and did a 3-frame split there. And I recombined the hives 6 and 18 with the honey super. So what I did a 50-50 split. I found the queen, I moved her off into a nuke, and then I put these back together so they had those swarm cells to requeen with. So I noted it was queenless, and I noted doing my using my chart that shows the 21 days for a queen development. I'm sorry, queen's 19, I think. I knew about how long I had, so I wrote queenless, queen check. It should be, so if those queens emerge, they should be mated by May 4th and laying somewhere around the 11th. So I'm saying on the 11th, I need to get in there and check for the queen. So naturally, I couldn't wait. I looked May 5th instead of the 11th. And virgin queen, I spotted her, but no eggs. I didn't put the 2 dots, but how would I have known if I didn't see her? May 13th, queenless, and so quite a few days later, there was no queen in there. So I went over to another hive, 27, doing an inspection, and that was the huge swarm hive that swarmed right at that time, looking for a queen in there, and I found a virgin queen that they were balling up, killing her. So I rescued that queen, and I thought, well, I'll see if this hive here, number 8, will accept her, and they truly are queenless. So I did, and they accepted her. So then I noted, let's see, then on the 19th, queen right, eggs, and laying. So that virgin queen I got from number 27 worked out there. So that was last year. So let's turn the page, bottom line up front, right? So then we got on into June. The super was about full, and I added a deep number 2, brought up the frame of brood up to the top so they would expand faster. So then we get to 2020 this year. So coming out of March, it was very, very strong. Coming out of winter, queen right, eggs, larva, brood. You notice there's no dots. I didn't see her. I just saw evidence of the queen. Top and bottom was full of brood. So I did not rotate it. And I wrote swarmer. So watch out for this sucker, right? And I said super ASAP. So on the 22nd, I supered it up. On the 10th, small empty queen cups. Medium drone brood cleaned the bottom. So I got all the drone brood out of there. 4/18, I did the same thing. Empty cups and medium heavy on the super. And I made a little note there, hot. That means that hive was all up in my face. So all the way up to just recent May 21st, this hive has not swarmed. The queen cups have all been empty. Later on it was calm, you can see there. And the super is medium heavy. So for such a strong hive, it hasn't really produced the honey, which to me that's kind of surprising. So we'll do one more real quick. Let's go to the next one, number 9. It's kind of a good example of something that just shows how taking good notes can help you. In the spring, May 24th, spring inspection, super strong, lots of drone brood, empty queen cups. I cleaned it up, which means I cleaned off the drone brood that was down there on the bottom, top and bottom, and noted queen right, eggs, larvae, brood. I supered it, and I did not rotate the deep boxes. That's something we do here in a 2-box system. We'll rotate the top and bottom boxes if the bottom is empty. And I noted likely swarmer. April 10th, small empty queen cups, empty, no drone brood. The 19th, same thing, working the super aggressive. 26th, working 1 queen cup, it was wet, but not white yet. I added a second super on the bottom, which means I put the full super on top and put an empty on bottom, and added the second super on the bottom, and it was a deep. Because I ran out of supers. That's a good problem to have, I guess. April 30th, I added the 4 to 5 deep honey frames in the deep super from hive number 13 that I reduced. That hive 13 had a failing queen, and that's the one that I reduced it all the way down to a single deep, and had to do on the spot queen ring on it. And I'm trying for I think the 3rd time to get that hive to queen. May 4th, multiple queen cells. Not yet capped, so I should have put SCs because those are swarm cells. So I said look for a queen on May 7th. May 5th, I found the queen, so I did it 2 days before I planned, and moved her to number 29 in the trees. So that's a new location I have over in the trees, position 29. So I took that queen out that was going to swarm, and did a 5-frame split, put back 4 drawn and 1 empty wax coated frames in the location where I pulled that split from. Then on the 15th, so I'm checking on these cells. I found 2 virgin queens walking around in there. So when I found them on those frames, I just grabbed that frame and I stuck it into a nuke box by itself and isolate those virgin queens. And then I found another queen cell almost open. The queen actually had her head stuck out. And so I pulled 3 frames with queens on each. 2 splits, numbers 34, 35, and 36. So if you've seen my video, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, that's the 3 nukes that are on the right-hand side of my nuke stand. And they had the best chance of survival because it was done at the right time. And we didn't have a record-setting cold front coming. May 23rd, queen right with eggs. So it is requeened. I found that queen and I marked her blue. It looks like she just started laying a few eggs. Okay, how you like my paperweight? So that's how I keep notes. I noticed one thing I didn't mention was one abbreviation is QL, and I didn't write that down. That means it's queenless. It means it's not a queen right hive, and you need to follow up. So when you follow up, here's what I do. So I have this book, and I have the convenience of sitting down in my chair and taking it easy, and I'll flip through here and I'll look at what happened last, and I'll have a plan when I go to the apiary. which one of these hives am I going to go in, and what am I going to look for. And I'll sit here and I'll write my notes on a little pad. I used to have a little spiral notebook that fit in the palm of my hand, but it disappeared. I don't know what happened to it. But so here's one I have. So I'll just show you what my latest go back list says. So it says like hive 13, you need to go check the supersede your cells for emergence on May 27th. And they came from nuke number 34, one of those failing hives or nukes. I robbed a superseder frame out of there and moved it over back into 13. 14, it's a notched frame cell, and I note the date I did it on May 29th. Number 24, same thing, and I did it on May 23rd. Number 26 is queenless. I did the same thing on that on the 28th. So I got 6 hives that are struggling to requeen right now. I've never had this a year that I had so many queenless hives going into like June. Usually I was pretty well situated by that time. I may have 1 or 2 stragglers, and I may have 1 that or 2 that the queen is superseding. She's done. She's probably a 3-year-old, and she's basically done. And I did have 1 of those. That was hive 14. Hive number 4. Someone said I'm always interested in hive 4. So hive 4, I split it 3 or 4 ways with swarm cells, and it didn't requeen. One day I saw I think it was a swarm or a mating flight returning, because there was bees all over the front and they were all fanning like, hey, this is the place. So it wasn't a swarm. It was odd. I'd never seen that before. And let's see, number 31. So that's my first nuke that I still have left that was pre-cold front, and I gave it a big boost on the 28th. I put 3 frames in there, so we need to follow up on that. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hives that I need to go into the next time I'm out there. Well, some sooner than others, because today's the 31st, and some of these were the 28th, so I wouldn't necessarily want to look at those yet. But so I'll just keep a running list of what I need to be working on. That's it. That is how I keep notes and records. The 3-ring binder works good. I keep extra sheets back here, and I use graph paper. It's all faded out because it got rained on. I like the graph paper because it keeps your lines nice and straight. And when I have to add a sheet, I just open it up, put it on top. I don't write on the backs because it's hard to write like this, especially if you're out there in the field, you got gloves on. I like to have it on the right hand side and write like this. So I put new sheets on, so it's chronological. The earliest is on the top. That is it. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope it wasn't too boring for you. And we'll catch you all on the next beekeeping video. Y'all take care.